this is the big display that we have, is the mother of pearl button manufacturing equipment. It came from the Martinek shop on Elliott's Island, which is about 26 miles south of here, and they came here from Little Ferry, New Jersey in the late 40s. And the elder Martinek actually had done this, I assume, as a young man, child, where they were from in Little Ferry. This was a mom and pop operations up there in people's basements and their garages, and they did sent a lot of this stuff to the garment district in New York. You were noticing the sequins a while ago. Those sequins like that were used on costumes for Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley back in the day when they were big performers. But they made everything from the buttons to the little single hole sequin, and the last commercial use for them was Barbie dolls. Barbie had mother of pearl buttons on her clothes. But he closed up in 1999. It got too expensive to import the shells, and Mr. Martinek said the quality of the shells, that the last shells that he got weren't, when they were in big production back in the 50s and 60s, he said the last batch of shells he got, they would have considered it trash. The quality was poor, they weren't real good size, and of course with Velcro and plastic buttons, it just put the finishing touches on a dying market. Well, this is what you start with, is a mother of pearl shell. They come from Australia. They were uncrated. They were put in a drum of water to soak for at least 30 days. And then the bill, with this real thick part here, was filed off. And then you started here and you drilled, it's like a hole saw. You cut the blanks out of the shell. And then what you ended up with, here's a broken piece of one, was something like that. You tried to get as many blanks out of a shell as you could possibly get. So then you come down here and you dump all your blanks in here, and it goes through a sieve, and then it sorts them from the thinnest clear down to the thickest.
In all those little bins.
In all those little bins. And there's what your blanks look like. So once you did that, then they go on that backing machine, which is like a big grinding wheel, and it had a water spray on it. And what it did was you went to one side and it was sanded flat, and then you put them over, and that way you had two flat sides. Once you did that, then you brought it over here, and then you cut the button blank out of it with a steel disc, and it too had a water spray on it to cut down on the friction and the dust. You put it in this set of jaws as this thing was turning, and then you just pushed it against that steel disc, and you could get 2 to 4 button blanks depending on the thickness of the shell blank. And then here you had your single for sequins, or 2-hole or 4-hole for your buttons, and you just worked it back and forth like that.
But each button individually?
Yes, each one individually.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah. It's a very labor-intensive process. Now, you're still not finished yet, because you look at the oyster shell and you notice that you have a yellowish coloration there. You can't sell those buttons. They had to be the pearlescent color. So what they would do was put them in a chemical solution, and they would come out looking like this, was what they called smoked. You could sell these looking like that, but you couldn't sell them with that yellow coloration. These are called shovels. This is actually a gross. You fill all these holes up with buttons, and you counted out 1 gross. Before they did that, Mrs. Martinek every night at the kitchen table would grade the buttons, look for defects into them. Well, there's one's got a yellow coloration, and you notice it's got a chip into it. Couldn't use that. So once she graded them and got her good buttons out of it, then she would have to count out however many gross she needed by hand. by doing it like this, you know, if you wanted 10 gross, you fill this up 10 times and you're done.
What kind of price would you get for, I mean, I imagine it depends on the decade, but...
Well, here, and Mr. Martinek loves to get people to try and guess how many sequins are in here. Now, these are white 2-hole sequins, just like these are smoked. There's the numbers he has on it.
So is that 230,000?
That's how many's in here.
And then what's 57? So they were worth $360.
Yeah, at 90 cents a gross.
Wow.
So when you stop and think about it, it really wasn't a lot of money.
Oh, 90 cents for a lot of work.
Yeah.